The countdown reached 50 minutes. Aboard the Crithian command ship, nobody moved. 2,000 warships sat motionless in space, weapons charged but silent. The Supreme Commander stared at the tactical display showing the human weapon called Retribution. Ambassador Sung Hee had been recalled to the Grand Armada specifically for this moment. She stood before the Supreme Commander now, choosing her words carefully. Supreme Commander, I have spent my entire career studying other species. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched wars begin and end. And I am telling you now with absolute certainty that the humans are not bluffing. They will activate that weapon. How can you know? The Supreme Commander demanded. Every species has survival instinct. No one chooses death over surrender. Sung Hee pulled up data on her tablet. Let me tell you about human history. 3,000 years ago, humans had a civilization called Sparta. When a massive empire demanded their surrender, the Spartans refused. 300 soldiers held a mountain pass against hundreds of thousands of enemies. They all died, but their sacrifice inspired their entire civilization to fight. The empire lost. She scrolled through more data. 2,000 years ago, humans had a city called Masada. When facing conquest, the defenders chose death over slavery. They killed themselves rather than surrender. 1,000 people, Supreme Commander. Men, women, children. They chose death. More examples. World War II, a conflict that killed 80 million humans. Cities burned to ashes rather than surrender. Nuclear weapons were used on civilian populations. The entire species came close to extinction multiple times. And still, they fought. The Supreme Commander listened, his face unreadable. Humans call it mutual assured destruction. Sung Hee continued. For centuries, they pointed weapons at themselves that could destroy their entire world. They were ready to commit species-wide suicide rather than accept defeat. This isn't new behavior for them, Supreme Commander. This is who they are. Counselor. Minji, monitoring from the homeworld via quantum link, added her voice. Supreme Commander, I recommend withdrawal. We cannot conquer a species willing to die. Even if we somehow survived their weapon and destroyed Earth, what then? The humans have colonies throughout their region of space. Every colony will fight like Earth fights. We would need to commit genocide on a galactic scale. Is that who we are? 45 minutes remained. On Earth, Premier Tae-young sat in her office and waited. She had just condemned her entire species to potential death. The weight of that decision should have crushed her. Instead, she felt calm. General Bo-ra entered the office. Premier, all civilian evacuation protocols have failed. There's nowhere to run. If the Crithians don't withdraw, Earth dies. I know, Tae-young said quietly. Do you think I made the right choice? Bo-ra sat down heavily. You gave us the only choice that matters. We die free or live as slaves. There is no third option. Yes, Premier, you made the right choice. Captain Sora was aboard the Indomitable II, positioned between Earth and the Crithian Armada. If the countdown reached 0 and nothing happened, her orders were clear. Attack. Die fighting. Make the Crithians pay for every meter of space. Her crew was silent. They had all written final messages to loved ones. Commander Jae-min had recorded a message for his daughter, explaining why her father chose to die in the black of space. Captain Kyung-soo had sent a letter to his elderly parents, thanking them for a good life. Everyone had made peace with death. 30 minutes remained. Fleetmaster Sun Woo broke the silence on the Crithian command deck. Supreme Commander, request permission to speak freely. Granted. Sir, I've fought humans twice. I have seen 30% of my fleet destroyed in the first battle. I have seen 50% destroyed in the second battle. Every prediction we made about their behavior was wrong. Every tactical assumption we held was shattered. They fight in ways we never imagined. They sacrifice in ways we cannot comprehend. Sir, I believe the threat is real. If we do not withdraw, we all die here. The Supreme Commander looked at his officers. Every face showed the same thing. Fear. Not fear of battle, but fear of the unknown. fear of an enemy that didn't follow any known rules of warfare. "They're primitives," the Supreme Commander said, but his voice lacked conviction. "They have inferior technology. We should be able to conquer them." "Should is not the same as can," Sung-Hee said softly. "Supreme Commander, this isn't about technology anymore. This is about will. We want to conquer. They want to survive. Those are not equal motivations. Survival trumps conquest every time." 20 minutes remained. On Luna, Dr. Hanul stood at the control station for the retribution. Her hand rested on the activation switch. If the countdown reached 0, she would turn that switch. The weapon would activate, and humanity would end along with the Krithian armada. She had made peace with that. Her entire adult life had been spent on weapons research. She had created bombs and missiles and lasers designed to kill. Now she would create humanity's final weapon: extinction. But if it saved the species, if it bought humanity freedom, then it was worth it. 10 minutes, the countdown voice announced calmly. Premier Tae-young opened a channel to the Krithian command ship. Her face appeared on their main screen again. She looked directly at the Supreme Commander. 9 minutes, she said. "I want you to understand something. I am not a soldier. I am not a warrior. I am a grandmother who served in government because I wanted to make life better for my grandchildren. But you have forced me to choose between their freedom and their lives. I choose freedom. I will always choose freedom. Withdraw your fleet or we all die. There will be no negotiation, no compromise, no surrender. Choose." The transmission ended. Supreme Commander looked at his tactical officers. "If we withdraw, the entire galaxy will know that we fled from primitives. Our authority will be questioned. Rebellions will start. The Dominion could collapse." Counselor Minji's voice came through the quantum link. "Supreme Commander, the Dominion is already collapsing. We have received reports of uprisings in 7 sectors. Other species watched how humanity fought. They're asking themselves why they submit to us. If we die here, the Dominion definitely falls. If we withdraw, perhaps we can rebuild our reputation through different means." 5 minutes remained. The Supreme Commander closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw the retribution activate. He saw his fleet torn apart by hyperspace distortions. He saw the greatest armada in Krithian history dying in seconds. He saw the end of everything he had built. And he saw humans choosing death over submission. "Fleet Master Sunwoo," he said quietly. "Yes, Supreme Commander?" "Order all ships to begin withdrawal. We are leaving this system." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Sunwoo began issuing orders. "All vessels, this is Fleet Master Sunwoo. Begin hyperspace jump calculations. We are withdrawing from Sol system. This is not a drill. Begin immediate withdrawal." 3 minutes remained on the countdown. The Krithian ships began to turn. Their FTL drives charged. One by one, they jumped to hyperspace and vanished. The Grand Armada, the largest military force in galactic history, retreated from a single star system. 2 minutes remained. The last Krithian ship jumped. The Supreme Commander's vessel was the final one to leave. As it vanished into hyperspace, the countdown stopped. 1 minute 37 seconds had remained. On Earth, people watched the sky and began to cry. They had been seconds from extinction. Now they were alive. Free. Premier Tae-young sat at her desk and put her head in her hands. The weight of what she had almost done crashed down on her. Billions of lives ended by her order. But it had worked. The bluff had worked. Except it wasn't a bluff. If the Krithians hadn't withdrawn, she would have given the order. Dr. Hanul would have activated the weapon. Humanity would have died. But they would have died free. 6 months later, the Treaty of Proxima was signed. The Krithian Dominion recognized the United Earth Federation as a sovereign power. Borders were established. Non-aggression was agreed upon. Peace, tenuous and uncertain, began. But the galaxy had changed. In the Velen system, slaves who had served the Krithians for 50 years watched the treaty signing and began to whisper. If humans could force the Dominion to back down, perhaps others could too. Rebellion sparked. In the Morlax sector, Another species facing Crethian conquest saw how humans fought and began building their own weapons. They would not go quietly. Across the galaxy, the old order began to crumble. The Crethians had been the dominant power for millennia, but humanity had shown that dominance could be challenged, not with better technology but with better will. Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun, now promoted to Grand Marshal of the United Earth Defense Force, oversaw construction of a new fleet. Humanity had proven it could defend itself. Now it needed to explore, to find allies, to build something in the galaxy beyond simple survival. Captain Sora, now Admiral Sora, took command of the first human exploration fleet. Her mission was simple: explore beyond Sol Sector, make friends if possible, be ready for war if necessary. Ambassador Sung-hee, granted asylum on Earth after her warnings to the Crethian High Command, began teaching human diplomats about galactic politics. On her first day, she told them something important. Ambassador Sung-hee requested an emergency meeting with the Crethian High Command. For 3 months, she had been trying to make them understand what humanity represented. They finally agreed to hear her. She stood before the 7 most powerful military leaders in the Crethian Dominion and displayed the battle records from both human encounters. The room was silent as they watched Crethian ships die in ways no one had imagined possible. Honored leaders, Sung-hee began, I have studied 43 species in my career as a diplomat. I have seen wars fought with elegant tactics and minimal casualties. I have seen honor duels decide the fate of entire worlds. Humanity is different. They don't fight for honor or territory. They fight for survival. And a species fighting for survival has no limits. The Supreme Commander, oldest of the 7, leaned forward. You exaggerate, Ambassador. We have lost battles before. We have faced determined enemies. The humans simply have unusual tactics. No, Supreme Commander. With respect, you don't understand. Every other species you've conquered calculated the cost of continued resistance and surrendered when that cost became too high. Humans don't make that calculation. They've been detecting our Grand Armada forming for months. They know they cannot win, and yet they're preparing to fight anyway. She pulled up new intelligence data. This is what our scouts have observed in the outer Sol system. The humans are building something. We don't know exactly what it is because every scout we send doesn't return, but the energy readings are enormous. Whatever they're building, it requires the power output of a small star. Counselor Minji, who had been following the human situation closely, spoke up. Ambassador Sung-hee is correct. I've reviewed all available data. The humans aren't preparing defenses. They're preparing something else. Something we've never seen before. The Supreme Commander waved dismissively. It doesn't matter. The Grand Armada launches in 1 week. Over 2,000 warships. Even if humans have more tricks, they cannot stand against such force. This conversation is over. Sung-hee bowed and left. She had tried to warn them. Now all she could do was watch. In the outer Sol system, beyond Neptune's orbit, Dr. Hanul floated in zero gravity inside the construction sphere. Before her was the Retribution, and it was beautiful in a terrible way. The device was massive, a sphere 20 kilometers in diameter. Inside that sphere was compressed antimatter, held in place by the most powerful magnetic fields humanity could generate. Surrounding the antimatter sphere were gravity generators, designed to create a pulse through hyperspace itself. Final systems check, she said into her communicator. Engineer teams throughout the structure reported back. All systems were functioning. The weapon was ready. Captain Sora, recovered from her injuries and given command of the new battle carrier Indomitable II, docked with the construction sphere. She found Hanul staring at her creation. It really works? Sora asked. It works, Hanul confirmed. When activated, it will release energy equivalent to a supernova. But the gravity generators will focus that energy into hyperspace. Any ship with an active faster-than-light drive within 200 light-years will be destroyed. Their drives will overload and tear the ships apart from the inside. The hyperspace lanes themselves will collapse. It will take decades to repair the damage. And Sol system? Everything within the system dies. Earth, Mars, all our colonies. The sun itself might be affected. If we activate this weapon, humanity dies with it. Sora was quiet for a moment. Will they believe we'll do it? Hanul smiled sadly. Captain, you fought at the first battle of Sol. You've seen how humanity fights. Do you believe we'll do it? Yes, Sora said without hesitation. I do. Then the Krithians will believe it too. The Grand Armada assembled at the rally point. Fleet Master Sunwoo, demoted after his defeat but given another chance to redeem himself, looked at the fleet display with satisfaction. 2,247 warships, the largest military force in Krithian history. Every available combat vessel had been called in from across the Dominion. The Supreme Commander himself was aboard the command ship. This would be the final battle. The humans would be crushed. Krithian honor would be restored. All ships report ready, Sunwoo announced. Plotting hyperspace jump to Sol system. Execute, the Supreme Commander commanded. The Grand Armada jumped. Space folded. 2,200 ships vanished and reappeared at the edge of human space. They began their advance toward Earth. This time there would be no fancy tactics, no tricks. Just overwhelming force applied until the humans broke. The human defense fleet met them halfway. 200 ships against 2,000. It should have been a massacre. It was, but not the way the Krithians expected. The humans had spent 3 months preparing. Every lesson from the first 2 battles had been learned. Every weapon had been refined. Captain Kyungsu's stealth fleet had grown to 30 ships. The drone factories had produced 10 million new units. And the asteroids. There were hundreds of asteroids now, all aimed at precise coordinates. The battle was chaos from the first moment. Kinetic projectiles struck Krithian formations. Drones swarmed in clouds so thick they blocked sensors. Stealth ships appeared from nowhere, fired, and vanished. The human missile carriers released everything they had, blanketing space with nuclear fire. The Krithians pushed forward. They were taking massive casualties, but there were so many of them. For every Krithian ship destroyed, 3 more filled the gap. Slowly, painfully, they advanced. Commander Jae-min, coordinating the defense from Luna, watched the tactical display with growing despair. We're losing. They have too many ships. Even with all our weapons, we can't kill them fast enough. General Bora nodded grimly. Pull all defensive forces back to Earth orbit. Prepare the final defensive line, and activate the Retribution's broadcast system. Across the Sol system and throughout Krithian space, every communication channel suddenly carried the same signal. Premier Tae-young, the civilian leader of Earth, appeared on every screen. She looked tired. Behind her, Earth was visible through a viewing port. It was a beautiful blue world, peaceful and serene. It didn't look like a world at war. I am Premier Tae-young of the United Earth Federation, she said calmly. For 3 months you have been advancing toward our home. You have destroyed our ships. You have killed our people. You come with overwhelming force, believing that we will surrender in the face of such power. You are wrong, she gestured, and the view changed. Now the screen showed the Retribution, floating in the outer system. Its massive structure pulsed with contained energy. This is what humanity has built while you gathered your armada. We call it the Retribution. It is not a weapon designed to destroy ships. It is designed to destroy everything. When activated, it will release a pulse through hyperspace that will obliterate every ship with an active FTL drive in this entire sector. Your armada will die, but so will we. So will Earth. So will every human in this system. Tae-young's expression was calm, almost serene. You have 1 hour to withdraw from our system. If you do not, we will activate the Retribution. Your armada will be destroyed. Your FTL lanes will collapse. And yes, we will die too. But you will learn what every human child knows. Some things are worth dying for. Freedom is one of them. Dignity is another. We will not kneel. We will not surrender. We will not be conquered. Withdraw now, or we all die together. The transmission ended. On the Krithian command ship, the Supreme Commander stared at the screen in silence. His tactical officers were frantically analyzing the weapon. Their reports came back quickly. Supreme Commander, the weapon is real. The energy signatures match their claims. If they activate it, can we destroy it before activation? The Supreme Commander asked. No, sir. It's too far away and too well defended. Even if we broke through, they could activate it before we reached it. Sir, I believe they will do it. Human psychology profiles suggest they're not bluffing. Fleet Master Sunwoo stood rigid at his station. He had fought humans twice now. He had seen what they were willing to sacrifice. He believed the threat was real. The countdown timer appeared on every screen. 57 minutes remaining. General Bora stood in the command center on Luna and watched the Krithian fleet approach. 400 warships, this time more than 5 times the force that had attacked before. The enemy had learned nothing from their first defeat. They still believed superior numbers alone would win. They were about to learn otherwise. "Ma'am, the Crithian fleet is dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system," the sensor officer reported. "They're forming up. Looks like standard battle formation. They're not trying to hide. Why would they?" Bora said. "In every war they've fought, showing overwhelming force made the enemy surrender. They think we'll see those 400 ships and give up." Commander Jae-min, transferred to Luna after the Indomitable was heavily damaged in the first battle, studied the tactical display. "We have 212 combat-capable ships. Even with our firepower advantage, the math isn't good. We'll run out of missiles before we can kill them all." "Then we don't fight them ship to ship," Bora said. "We fight them the way humans have always fought when outnumbered. We use the terrain." She activated the system-wide command channel. "All units execute plan hammer and anvil. Dr. Hanul, your weapons are authorized. Captain Kyungsoo, begin your approach. Let's show these aliens what human creativity looks like." The Crithian fleet advanced confidently. Fleetmaster Sun Woo, commanding this operation, had been assured that the humans got lucky in the first battle. His intelligence officers said the humans had exhausted most of their missile stockpiles. This would be a simple cleanup operation. Then the first asteroid hit. The Crithian vanguard was 20 cruisers arranged in a screening formation. They were watching for missiles, for human ships, for any obvious threat. What they didn't see was the rock tumbling toward them at 30% of light speed. Dr. Hanul had spent 3 months converting asteroids into kinetic weapons. The concept was simple. Attach engines, aim at predicted enemy positions, and accelerate to enormous speeds. The asteroids were invisible to most sensors because they weren't running active systems. They were just rocks moving very, very fast. The first asteroid was 300 meters across. It had been accelerated for weeks until it was traveling at 90,000 kilometers per second. When it hit the lead Crithian cruiser, the impact released energy equivalent to 1,000 nuclear weapons. The cruiser simply ceased to exist. It didn't explode. It vaporized. One moment there was a warship. The next moment there was an expanding cloud of plasma. 2 more asteroids struck within seconds. 2 more cruisers died before they could even register what was attacking them. "Report," Sun Woo was shouting. "What is that?" "Kinetic projectiles, Fleet Master," his sensor officer stammered. "They're attacking us with rocks, modified asteroids, at relativistic speeds, and how many?" "I'm detecting 23 more inbound. Fleet Master, we can't dodge them. They're too fast, and we can't shoot them down effectively. They're too massive." Sun Woo felt cold fear. "All ships emergency maneuvers. Scatter formation. Don't stay grouped." But the asteroids had been aimed at predicted positions. 3 more found targets. The Crithian formation broke apart in chaos. That's when the drones arrived. From hidden positions throughout the outer solar system, millions of autonomous combat drones activated. Each one was small, the size of a fighter craft. Each one carried a single fusion warhead. They had been built in automated factories on Europa and Titan, production facilities the Crithians hadn't even bothered to scout because they looked like civilian colonies. The drones swarmed the Crithian fleet. There were so many that they actually blocked sensors with their sheer numbers. The Crithians fired plasma lances and pulse cannons, destroying drones by the thousands. It made no difference. For every drone destroyed, 10 more took its place. Lieutenant Young-sik was a Crithian fighter pilot assigned to defend one of the battleships. He launched with his squadron and immediately found himself surrounded by human drones. They weren't particularly fast or maneuverable, but there were so many. His fighter's autocannon destroyed 12 drones before he ran out of ammunition. Then a drone rammed his fighter. The fusion warhead detonated. Young-sik died without time to scream. His entire squadron was wiped out in less than 3 minutes. The drones were everywhere. They crashed into Crithian ships, detonating nuclear fusion warheads against shields and armor. Most were destroyed before they could hit. But most wasn't good enough. A few drones got through, then a few more. The damage accumulated. "This is madness," Sun Woo breathed. "They're spending resources like water. Each of these drones must cost significant materials. They're throwing away millions of them." His tactical officer looked up from her station. "Fleet Master, human philosophy is different. They built these drones to be cheap. They don't have life support, don't have complex systems, just engines, guidance, and a warhead. They can build these faster than we can destroy them. Sunwoo was beginning to understand what Ambassador Sung-hee had tried to warn about. Humans didn't fight efficiently. They fought wastefully, but that waste was their strategy. Every drone destroyed was a drone that didn't destroy a human ship. Every asteroid dodged was time the human fleet could reposition. Then the stealth ship struck. Captain Kyung-soo commanded a small frigate called the Silent Wing. His ship was coated in special materials that absorbed sensor sweeps. It was invisible to Krithian detection. He had been moving through the enemy formation for an hour, slowly approaching a Krithian battleship. Range 200 meters, his helmsman whispered. Even though no one could hear them in the vacuum of space, everyone on the Silent Wing spoke quietly. It felt right for a stealth approach. Fire antimatter torpedoes, Kyung-soo ordered. 6 torpedoes launched at point-blank range. They crossed the distance in seconds and struck the battleship's hull. Antimatter met matter. The resulting explosions tore through the ship from the inside. The battleship broke apart, its back broken by weapons it never saw coming. The Silent Wing was already moving to its next target. 12 other stealth frigates were doing the same throughout the Krithian formation. They were invisible. They were lethal. And the Krithians, who had never developed stealth technology because their honor code demanded visible combat, had no way to fight back. Counselor Minji watched the battle from the Krithian homeworld hundreds of light years away. Real-time data was being transmitted back through quantum communication arrays. She watched her people's fleet being torn apart not by superior technology, but by tactics they had never encountered. The humans were fighting dirty. They used weapons that couldn't be seen. They attacked from unexpected angles. They spent resources without hesitation. It was dishonorable. It was effective. We're losing, she said to the empty room. On Luna, General Bora watched the Krithian fleet fall back. They had destroyed or disabled over 200 Krithian warships. The human fleet had lost 43 ships with another 70 damaged. By any civilized standard, both sides had suffered catastrophic casualties. But humanity was winning. They're retreating, Jae-min reported. The surviving Krithian forces are jumping to hyperspace. Fleetmaster Sunwoo is broadcasting on all frequencies, ordering withdrawal. Bora allowed herself a small smile. Let them go. We've made our point. But she knew this wasn't over. Dr. Hanul approached her station looking worried. General, intelligence reports that the Krithians are mobilizing their Grand Armada. Every ship they have. We're talking about thousands of vessels. How many exactly? Current estimates suggest over 2,000 warships. Bora felt the weight of that number. Humanity couldn't win against such a force. They didn't have enough weapons, enough ships, enough people. Even with all their tricks, that many enemies would overwhelm them. Then we build the retribution, she said quietly. Hanul's face went pale. General, that weapon is designed to destroy solar systems, including ours. I know what it does, Doctor, but we need to make sure the Krithians know about it too. If they won't accept our right to exist, we'll make them understand that conquering us means dying with us. 3 months later, construction began on humanity's ultimate weapon. Admiral Tae-sung stood on the command deck of his flagship and looked at the stars ahead. He had served the Krithian Dominion for 80 years. In that time, he had conquered 17 worlds and brought 43 species under Krithian rule. This mission would be his easiest yet. The report said the humans were primitive. They used basic fusion engines. Their weapons were simple energy cannons and explosive projectiles. The intelligence division rated them as Class 3, barely worth the effort of subjugation. But the High Command wanted every species in this sector under control. So Admiral Tae-sung received his orders. Take the 4th Fleet to the Sol system. Deliver the standard ultimatum. Accept their surrender. Move to the next target. Captain Ji-won walked across the bridge to stand beside the Admiral. She was young for a ship commander, only 30 years in service, but she had proven herself in the conquest of the Velen species 5 years ago. Her flagship, the Eternal Talon, was the pride of the 4th Fleet. Admiral, we are approaching the boundary of human space, Ji-won reported. Sensors detect multiple vessels ahead. They appear to be civilian transports, Tae-sung nodded. Hail them. Let them see what power looks like. The communication officer opened a channel. On the main screen, a human face appeared. The creature looked startled, its eyes wide with what Tae-sung recognized as fear. Good. Fear made conquest easier. "This is Admiral Tae-sung of the Krithian Dominion 4th Fleet," he announced. "Your species has been identified for integration into the Dominion. Prepare to receive terms of surrender." The human's face went pale. The transmission cut off abruptly. On the sensors, the human ships turned and fled at maximum speed. Ji-won laughed. "They run like prey animals. This will be over before lunch." Lieutenant Hyun-woo, manning the sensor station, studied his screens with a frown. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual. The human ships are transmitting heavily encrypted signals as they flee. Very heavy encryption for simple merchants." "They're warning their homeworld," Tae-sung said dismissively. "Let them. It changes nothing." "How long until we reach their primary world?" 3 days at current speed, Admiral. Maintain course. Have all ships charge weapons and prepare intimidation formation. I want the humans to see our power the moment we arrive." The 4th Fleet moved deeper into human territory. 76 warships, each one capable of reducing a planet's surface to glass. The formation was perfect, designed to inspire terror in any species that saw it. The Krithians had been using this same approach for thousands of years. It always worked. On the 2nd day of travel, they encountered another human vessel. This one was larger, possibly a military scout. It didn't flee immediately. Instead, it sat motionless in space, scanning the Krithian fleet with active sensors. "Destroy it," Tae-sung ordered. 3 plasma lances fired from the nearest Krithian cruiser. The beams crossed the distance in seconds and struck the human ship. Its shields flickered and died. The hull melted under the sustained fire. In less than a minute, the human ship was debris. "Primitive shields," Ji-won observed. "They failed after a single sustained hit." "Admiral, permission to speak freely?" "Granted. This feels too easy. The humans must know they cannot match us. Why haven't they transmitted a surrender?" Tae-sung turned to look at his captain. "Pride, perhaps. Or stupidity. Some species need to see their fleets burn before they accept reality. We'll give them that lesson if they require it." On the 3rd day, the 4th Fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system. The star called Sol burned yellow-white in the distance. Sensors identified 9 planets, with the 3rd planet showing signs of heavy industrialization and a population in the billions. "This is their homeworld," Hyun-woo reported. "Planet designation, Earth. I'm detecting orbital stations, satellite networks, and significant electromagnetic emissions. Admiral, I'm also detecting something else. Multiple power signatures in the outer system, but they're faint. I can't get a clear reading." "Civilian infrastructure," Tae-sung said. "Mining operations, perhaps." "Ignore them. Focus on the homeworld. Open all channels. I want every human to hear this." The communication officer nodded. "All channels open, Admiral." Tae-sung stood straight, projecting the authority of the Dominion. "Humans of Earth. I am Admiral Tae-sung of the Krithian Dominion. Your species has been selected for integration into the Dominion. You will surrender all military assets immediately. You will provide a complete census of your population. You will appoint representatives to negotiate the terms of your vassalage. You have 1 standard rotation to comply. Failure to surrender will result in the complete destruction of your orbital infrastructure and military bombardment of your population centers. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Tae-sung waited. In 76 previous conquests, the response was always the same. Either immediate surrender or defiant speeches followed by surrender once the first city burned. Humans would be no different. 1 hour passed. No response. 2 hours passed. Still nothing. "They're stalling," Ji-won said. "Trying to evacuate their leadership, perhaps." "Let them try," Tae-sung replied. "They have nowhere to run." Hyun-woo, begin scanning for their military fleet. "I want targets identified." "Admiral, I'm not detecting any fleet," Hyun-woo said slowly. "There are orbital stations, yes, but no capital ships. No carriers. Nothing that matches standard military signatures." "They're hiding," Tae-sung decided. "Cowards to the end." "Very well, power weapons. Target their largest orbital station. 1 shot. Show them the price of silence." The fleet's weapons began to charge. Energy readings spiked across all 76 warships. Plasma lances warmed up. Missile tubes loaded. The Krithians were ready to deliver their lesson. Then Hyun-woo gasped. "Admiral, contacts!" Multiple contacts decloaking all around us. The main screen changed. One moment, space was empty. The next moment, it was full of ships. Human ships. Dozens of them. No more than dozens, hundreds. But these weren't the simple vessels they'd seen before. These were massive, ugly things covered in strange protrusions. Every surface bristled with what could only be weapons. So many weapons, more weapons than Hyunwoo had ever seen on any ship design. Sensor count, Taesung barked. 153 contacts, Hyunwoo reported, his voice shaking. Admiral, I'm reading thousands of individual weapon systems. Missile pods, kinetic launchers, laser arrays. Each ship is carrying enough ordnance to level a continent. This doesn't make sense. No species wastes this much space on weapons. Ji-won stared at the screen. What are they? The communication channel activated without the Krithians opening it. A human face appeared, older than the merchant they'd seen before. This one wore a military uniform and showed no fear at all. I am Fleet Admiral Dong-hyun of the United Earth Defense Force, the human said calmly. You demanded our surrender. I have a counter-offer. Leave our system now, and you will be allowed to retreat with your lives. Remain, and we will show you what humanity builds for war. Taesung felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Uncertainty. But he was Krithian. He was a conqueror. He would not be intimidated by primitives no matter how many ships they had. Foolish creatures, he said. You cannot win. All ships open fire. The battle began. Captain Sora watched the Krithian fleet on her tactical display and felt her jaw tighten. The aliens had fallen perfectly into the trap. Every ship was exactly where Commander Jamin had predicted they would be. Humanity had studied these creatures for 5 years. They knew how Krithians thought. They knew how Krithians fought, and they knew how to kill them. All batteries report ready, Jamin said from his station. Missile pods 1 through 40 are loaded and targeted. Nuclear warheads are armed. Railguns are charged. Laser arrays are tracking. Ma'am, we are weapons-free. Sora looked at the face of Fleet Admiral Dong-hyun on her command screen. The old man had spent every day for 5 years preparing for this moment. After the Krithians destroyed the colony ship New Horizon and murdered 50,000 civilians without warning, humanity had one goal: survival. And if survival meant war, then humanity would wage war like no species in the galaxy had ever seen. All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Dong-hyun. The transmission came. Execute order, maximum violence. Show them what we are. Sora smiled without humor. You heard the Admiral. Fire everything. The battle carrier Indomitable shuddered as 4,000 missiles launched simultaneously from their pods. The ship had been designed for one purpose: to throw so much ordnance at an enemy that their defenses would simply drown. Each missile carried either a nuclear warhead or a cluster of kinetic penetrators. Each one was guided by its own targeting computer. Across the human fleet, 153 warships did the same. Over 500,000 missiles filled space in less than 30 seconds. The Krithians had never seen anything like it. Captain Ji-won is broadcasting on emergency channels, the communication officer reported. She's screaming about impossible weapons density. Their point defense systems can't track this many targets. Sora watched the missiles cross the distance. The Krithian ships fired their plasma lances and pulse cannons, destroying missiles by the dozen, then by the hundred. Their defenses were excellent, exactly as human intelligence had predicted. Krithian technology was superior in almost every way, but technology meant nothing against simple mathematics. The Krithians destroyed 1,000 missiles, 2,000, 5,000. It didn't matter. 10,000 more kept coming. The first Krithian cruiser died when its shields finally collapsed under sustained nuclear bombardment. 16 warheads detonated within 2 seconds of each other, each one a fusion explosion powerful enough to vaporize a city. The ship's shields held for the first 3. The next 5 overloaded the generators. The final 8 struck bare hull. The cruiser broke in half. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as fuel stores and ammunition cooked off. 200 Krithian crew died instantly. First kill confirmed, Jamin reported. His voice was steady, professional. Retargeting missiles to the next priority vessel. Ma'am, the Krithian formation is breaking. They're trying to spread out to avoid concentrated fire. Don't let them, Sora ordered. All ships focus fire. I want overwhelming force on each target. Kill them one at a time. The human fleet had practiced this for years. Focus every weapon on a single enemy ship until it died, then move to the next target. Except that the enemy would be firing back. Accept casualties, but never stop shooting. Admiral Taesung's flagship tried to maneuver out of the kill zone. The massive vessel was elegant, built for both beauty and function. Its shields were the strongest in the Krithian fleet. But humanity didn't care about elegance. The Indomitable and 7 other battle carriers concentrated their fire on the flagship. 30,000 missiles converged on a single target. The flagship's shields flared brilliant white, absorbing energy that would have destroyed a planet. The Crithian point defense worked perfectly, destroying thousands of incoming missiles. It wasn't enough. Missiles broke through. Nuclear fireballs bloomed against the hull. Railgun rounds traveling at a fraction of light speed punched through armor. Laser arrays burned deep into the ship's structure. The flagship Eternal Talon shuddered under the assault. "Their flagship is withdrawing," Jamin reported. "Heavy damage to forward sections. She's still combat capable but running." Sora nodded. "Let her run. There are easier targets. Shift fire to the cruiser formation on our port side." The battle had been raging for 20 minutes. In that time, 17 Crithian warships had been destroyed or disabled. The human fleet had lost 4 ships with another 8 heavily damaged. By the standards of galactic warfare, this was a catastrophe. Species simply didn't accept casualties like this. But humans weren't like other species. Every human in the fleet had volunteered knowing they might die. Every ship had been built with one goal: make the enemy pay more than they were willing to lose. Lieutenant Hyun Woo aboard the damaged Crithian flagship was crying openly at his station. The sensors showed carnage on a scale Crithians had never experienced. His people were the conquerors. His people had the superior technology. How was this happening? "Admiral, we must withdraw." Captain Ji-won was begging Tai-sung. Blood ran down her face from a head wound. The bridge was filled with smoke. "We cannot win this. They have too many weapons, too many missiles. We don't have enough point defense for this volume of fire." Tai-sung stared at the tactical display. His beautiful fleet was being torn apart, not by superior weapons, but by sheer weight of numbers. The humans were fighting like madmen, throwing ordnance at targets without any concern for efficiency or elegance. It was wasteful. It was brutal. It was working. "All ships," he said quietly. "Retreat. Jump to hyperspace as soon as possible. We must report this to High Command." The surviving Crithian vessels turned and fled. Their faster-than-light drives charged, and one by one they vanished into hyperspace. Of the 76 warships that entered human space, only 31 escaped. 45 had been destroyed or too damaged to jump. Sora watched them go. "Ceasefire. All ships, damage report." The reports came in. The humans had lost 17 warships completely destroyed. 40 more had varying levels of damage. Over 12,000 human personnel were dead. 3 orbital stations around Mars had been hit by Crithian fire before the aliens retreated. Another 8,000 civilians were dead or missing. It was the bloodiest battle in human history. "We won," Jamin said quietly. "We survived," Sora corrected. "Winning comes later." This was just the first wave. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun addressed the United Earth Assembly. Politicians who had spent years debating the cost of the military buildup now sat in shocked silence. "The Crithians underestimated us because they fight war like a game with rules," Dong Hyun said. "They have shields and energy weapons. They maneuver gracefully. They calculate acceptable losses and retreat when those losses are exceeded. We don't fight that way. Humanity learned war in the mud and blood of 10,000 years of conflict. We don't retreat. We don't calculate acceptable losses. We fight until we win or until we're all dead." He paused, letting that sink in. "The Crithians will return. They cannot accept this defeat. Their pride won't allow it. Next time they will bring more ships, more weapons, and we will do what we must to stop them. We will build more missiles, more railguns, more ships. We will turn every asteroid in this system into a weapon, because that is what survival requires." The Assembly voted unanimously to authorize total military production. Every factory, every shipyard, every resource would be devoted to war. 300 light-years away, the surviving Crithian ships arrived at a military station. Admiral Tae-sung was immediately placed under arrest for losing most of his fleet. Captain Ji-won tried to explain what happened, but the High Command didn't believe her. No species fought like that. No species wasted resources like that. It was impossible. Ambassador Sung-hee, a Crithian diplomat who had spent decades studying younger species, reviewed the battle records. She saw the truth that her people refused to accept. Humanity didn't have better technology. They had something more dangerous, a willingness to pay any price for victory. She tried to warn the High Command. They ignored her. Instead, they assembled the 2nd and 3rd fleets. 400 warships. They would crush these primitives and restore Crithian honor. Humanity detected the fleet forming and began building more weapons. The second Battle of Sol was coming, and this time humanity had surprises ready.